Grab your rotary cutter, grab your pile of fabrics, and let's get ready to cut out our fabric strips today. I know I was going to do it in the last video, and I actually did film it, but my microphone died and I had no sound, and I didn't feel like doing a half-hour voiceover. So I picked out some new fabrics. We're going to go through and do the same cutting that we did with my original fabrics, and we'll get them put in the Ziploc bags, and we'll get ready to start sewing our unit. Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name's Jenny Clark. This is Desert Sky Stitches, and I'm so glad that you're joining me today. So let's get right into the video. Now we're ready to start cutting the fabrics, and I just wanted to go through real quick, how do we know what size strip we need to cut? And I just wanted to point you to the pattern. Now, if you have Quiltster, when you do the printout of it, it will tell you how many strips you need of each fabric, and it will also give you the fabric references. But if you're not using Quiltster and you're designing this either out of your stash or going to the fabric store and picking out fabrics, if you refer to the charts that are in your pattern, so like for Unit A, right here, it tells you which fabrics go in different locations. And then also in this chart here, it tells you the fabric reference number, like fabric S1, S2, S3 on down the line. And then it'll tell you your yardage. And then it also gives you either like 1/8 of a yard or 2.5 inches. Now, a lot of quilt shops won't let you get less than 1/4 of a yard. If you sweet talk them, maybe they'll let you buy 1/8 of a yard if you're buying a bunch of fabrics. Or again, if you're going to look through your stash, you just need a 2.5 inch strip. So this is where I found what width of strips that I need to cut. Now, if you see right here, I have a pen and ink change. This was one of the corrections that I found for fabric S11 and S12. Instead of a 4-inch strip, it's actually supposed to be a 5-inch strip. So I made all my little labels with the fabric S1 and a 2.5 inch strip on down the line, fabric A1 and A2, a 4-inch strip, fabric S9 is a 4-inch strip. This tells you what template is used to cut that fabric. So it does the same thing with your B unit, which is the feathered star. Tells you there's 3 fabrics in here. B1 is the background, B2 are the spikes, and B3 is this dark area here, and it tells you the width of strip. Now, since these were such wide strips, a 24-inch strip, then I went and dug a little bit further. So if you do the step-by-step instructions, background fabric S1 right here, it says step 1, cut 6 4-inch strips. So 6 times 4 is 24. That's where it says 24-inch strip right here. So instead of putting 24 inches on my label, I cut 6 4-inch strips. And so if you see a piece that's a really big, like 19.5, chances are you're going to have to subcut that into some smaller strips. So that's another tip on that. And then same thing for the D units, fabric D1 and 2, that's the border and the background fabric. And then for the DS1 through DS15, which are these 2-inch strips that go on your arcs for the outer border right here, those are all 2-inch strips. So let's go grab the fabric and we'll start cutting some of those strips. All right, I have my pile of fabric here. It's not in any specific order. I've got my little labels of the size strips that I need to cut. One thing that I just wanted to add in with your fabric, I usually cut out or at least buy the fabric for my binding when I buy the fabric for my quilt top. I've learned my lesson. If you buy fabric and then you stash it away and you don't use it for a while, and then you get your fabric out to make your quilt, a lot of times that fabric isn't available anymore. So if you want to have a binding that coordinates or matches your fabric, then I would cut it out when you're cutting your fabrics for your quilt. So in this instance, I'm using this fabric as my binding. So when I cut all my other strips, I'm also going to cut my binding. So I'm just going to go through, cut all my strips, and then I'll come back and put them all in order. So I'll put all the A unit fabrics together, all the B unit fabrics, all the strips, all the D strips, and then we'll put them in the appropriate Ziploc bags. Okay, so first fabric, this is my binding. So I need 5 binding strips, a 2-inch strip, 2 2-inch strips, and 1 5-inch strip. So let's open this up. Now, a lot of times if I have like 2 or 3 or 4 strips of the same size, I will usually fold my fabric in half. So I've got 2 layers here and I can cut 2 strips out at the same time. So for this one, I need 2 2-inch strips. So grab my ruler. Now, another thing that I wanted to point out on these, if you're using Creative Grid rulers, there's a 1/2-inch side and there's also a solid inch side. So if you're cutting like a 2-inch strip, instead of using the one that has a little 1/2-inch frosted area on there, I will turn it over to the solid one that just has the 1/4-inch frosted area. And that way the inch marks are on a solid line, the other way around, the 1/2-inch marks. So like when you're cutting 2.5-inch strips, you'd want to use the 1/2-inch side. So I need my 2 2-inch strips. And I need 1 5-inch strip. Or actually, since I have it folded, I need 5 2.5-inch strips for my binding. So I'm going to go ahead and cut those out right now. So this will be 2 strips. And I'm using my ruler lines. I'm not using the mat lines. I find that the fabric cuts are a little more accurate that way. Got my camera stand is in my way. Okay. Okay, so there's 4, and I need 1 more 2.5-inch strip, and then I need a 5-inch strip. So 2.5. And a 5-inch strip. Go back to the inch strips. One fabric down. So then I'll go and put my little labels on my fabric pieces. Binding strips. And my 2 2-inch strips. This one. It's 9. Okay. So I'm just going to go through and I'm going to keep cutting my fabrics based on my labels. Just so, same with cutting out the papers, so you don't have to sit through a half hour of me cutting fabrics. We'll put it on time lapse and I'll meet you at the end when I have all my fabrics cut, and we'll separate them and put them in the Ziploc bags. fabrics cut. Now I'm just going to separate them. This is D2 and D1, so those are my D fabrics for the outer border. This is C1, so that's all of my C units and my D units. And now this is B1, A1, S12. So these are all my DS, my S's. Here's B2, so B1, B2, A. So I'm going to separate out all of my 2.5-inch strips and my 2-inch strips. Right now I'm just separating them, and then I'll put them in order. 2-inch strip, 2-inch. So the 2.5-inch strips, again, just a reminder, those are for our arcs, and the 2-inch strips are for the outer arcs and the outer border. So, and those are labeled DS numbers, and the 2.5-inch strips are just S numbers. Here's B3. So I've got all my my C, my B, C, and D. Now we just need to get our 2-inch strips and our 2.5-inch strips all sorted out. These are my binding strips. I'll set those aside. Okay. So let's do the 2.5-inch strips. We've got, this is S1, S2, S3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, S9, S10, 11, and 12. So these will go into my A unit bags, or the wedding ring arcs. So those are those. And then let's see, we got DS1, 9, 7, 10, 2, 11, 9, 10, 11, 1, 2, and 3, and that's 12, and there's 4, 5, 6, 7, 14, 13, 15, and 8. All right, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So these will go into the unit D1 bag, and then when we get to that unit, we'll cut them down into smaller pieces. So, and then we've got A1, which that goes with our A bag. All right, so A unit, or the diamond wedding ring unit, which is our A's, our B's, I'm sorry, B's, which is the feathered star, our D units, and the background fabric and our outer border are all for the D bags. In case you're wondering what I do with my scraps, I keep those in the bottom of my scrap bin. I can put them in a Ziploc bag if you don't have a bin. but I keep them because you never know. We always seem to make a little mistake. I've done it myself, accidentally cut off the 1/4 inch seam allowance, not using my add a quarter ruler, is busy talking to somebody and cut right off. Or, you know, sometimes you put a piece on and it doesn't quite cover, and then you have to take it off with a seam ripper. So this is for contingencies. Hopefully we don't make any mistakes, but if we do, we've got a little bit of extra fabric. And then when my project is all done, whatever scraps I have left, I just put them in the scrap bin and use them for another project. So we'll put those in the Ziploc bags, and then the next video will be taking the S strips and getting those all in order and cut down to start making our wedding ring arcs. So thanks for sticking along with me. We'll see you in the next video, and we'll start doing some sewing.